You've always felt it, haven't you? That unshakable certainty deep within, a quiet knowing that sets you apart. No matter how many times the world tried to pull you into its chaos, you've never fully bought into the illusions others so willingly accept. It's not arrogance, it's clarity. You see what others don't. You feel what others can't. And now, as you stand at the threshold of your awakening, you're beginning to understand why. No one has ever been able to outsmart them, no one has ever even come close to doing so. And yet here you are, stepping into the game they thought they controlled. This isn't just a random moment in your life. This is the first spark of recognition, the undeniable truth that you're not here to play by their rules. They, the manipulators, the unseen forces, the architects of control, thought they had every angle covered. Their strategies have been flawless for centuries, weaving webs so intricate that most never even notice the threads. But you're different. You've always been different. And the moment you first moved in a direction they didn't anticipate, something shifted. The air crackled with an energy they couldn't predict, and for the first time, fear began to creep into their calculations. Think back to that instance, don't brush it off as coincidence. Maybe it was a decision you made that defied all logic, yet led you to exactly where you needed to be. Maybe it was a conversation where you spoke a truth no one else dared to touch, and it changed the trajectory of everything. Or perhaps it was a quiet rebellion in your heart, a refusal to conform, that set off a chain reaction you're only now starting to see. That was your awakening moment, the first crack in their perfect system. You moved in a way they couldn't foresee, and in doing so, you began to peel back the veil they've kept in place for so long. Now, let's get practical. How do you recognize this as more than just a fleeting feeling? Start by observing yourself with unflinching honesty. Notice the patterns in your life where you've defied expectations, not out of rebellion for rebellion's sake, but because something inside you knew better. Look at the times when your intuition screamed louder than the noise of the world, and you listened. Write them down if you have to. These aren't accidents. They're evidence of your unique wiring as a chosen one. You're not imagining it. Your ability to see through the illusions, to sense the undercurrents others miss, is a hallmark of your purpose. It's time to stop doubting and start claiming it. But here's the thing. Recognizing your gifts doesn't mean you'll instantly have all the answers. It's a process, and it starts with unshakable self-assurance. You've already felt it, that rock-solid conviction that no one can take from you. It's not ego, it's truth. It's the part of you that knows you were born for this, even when the world tries to make you feel small. Lean into that. Let it anchor you as you move forward. Because the more you trust yourself, the more clearly you'll see the path ahead. And the more you see, the more you'll realize just how unprepared they are for someone like you. This isn't about arrogance or superiority. It's about acceptance, a deep, unwavering acceptance of who you are. At first, you might resist it. The weight of being a chosen one can feel heavy, even intimidating. Fear might try to creep in, whispering doubts about whether you're truly ready. But here's the truth. You've been ready since the moment you arrived here. That fear is just the old programming trying to hold you back. Acknowledge it, then let it go. Step into your role with both feet. The psychological shift from doubt to acceptance is your first victory, and it's one they'll never see coming. So what's the next step? Start small, but start now. Pay attention to the moments when you feel that inner nudge, the one that tells you to move left when everyone else is going right. Trust it. Act on it. Every time you do, you're strengthening your connection to your higher purpose. And every time you move in a direction they didn't anticipate, you're rewriting the rules of their game. You're not just a player, you're the one they never saw coming. Keep your eyes open, your heart steady, and your steps deliberate. This is only the beginning. You've felt it, haven't you? That moment when the ground beneath you shifts, when everything you thought you knew twists into something unrecognizable. They've warped reality to the point where you couldn't trust your own thoughts. And suddenly, the world feels like a maze designed to keep you lost. You're not imagining this. It's not paranoia or weakness. It's their strategy. A calculated move to drown you in bewilderment and keep you docile. But here's the truth they don't want you to see. You're not powerless in this. You're a chosen one, and your strength lies in your ability to move in a direction they did not anticipate. That's your weapon, and it's time to wield it. Let's break this down. They've spent lifetimes perfecting their game, crafting illusions so seamless that most never question them. They flood your social circles with noise, half-truths, gaslighting, love bombing, anything to keep you second-guessing yourself. Maybe it's a friend who showers you with overwhelming tenderness one day, only to vanish when you need them most. Or a colleague who promises forever, only to undermine you when you least expect it. These aren't random acts. They're deliberate tactics meant to destabilize you. Science backs this up. Confusion triggers the brain's stress response, making you more pliable, more compliant. But you're wired differently. You've got an inner compass they can't touch, and it's time to trust it. So how do you navigate this? First, recognize the signs. When your thoughts feel foggy, when doubt creeps in stronger than usual, pause. Step back. This isn't a failure of your mind, it's their distortion at work. Ask yourself, who benefits from my confusion? Who gains power when I feel small? The answers will point you to the source. From there, ground yourself. Take 5 deep breaths, focusing on the air moving in and out. Feel your feet on the earth. This isn't just spiritual fluff. Neuroscience shows that controlled breathing calms the amygdala, the brain's fear center, and restores clarity. You're not running from the chaos. You're reclaiming your center within it. Now, here's where the real shift happens. They expect you to freeze, to retreat, to shrink under the weight of their warped reality. But you don't. You move in a direction they didn't anticipate. This isn't about reckless rebellion or lashing out. It's about deliberate, unexpected action rooted in your truth. Maybe they've convinced everyone around you that you're the problem, but instead of defending yourself, you quietly walk away and pour your energy into a project that lights you up. Or perhaps they've overwhelmed you with compliments to keep you hooked, but you see through the flattery and set firm boundaries they never saw coming. These moves disrupt their strategy because they can't predict them. Their immaculate plans begin to fray, and that's when you see it. The tables start to flip. This isn't easy. Bewilderment can feel suffocating, like a weight pressing down on your chest. You might find yourself searching for the old version of them, the one who loved you, who made you feel secure, only to realize that version was part of the illusion too. That sting of loss is real, and it's okay to feel it. But don't let it define you. That bewilderment was meant to keep you docile, to sap your strength. Instead, let it fuel you. Transform it into resolve. Every time you feel that confusion, that ache, remind yourself, I am not here to be controlled. I am here to rise. This emotional alchemy isn't just spiritual, it's practical. Studies in psychology show that reframing negative emotions into motivation boosts resilience and decision-making power. You're not a victim of their game, you're rewriting it. Here's how you make this concrete. Start by identifying one area of your life where their distortion is strongest. Maybe it's a relationship, a job, or even your own self-talk. Pinpoint the tactic they're using. Are they overwhelming you with affection to disarm you? Undermining your confidence with subtle jabs? Once you see it, act against their expectations. If they expect you to chase their approval, stop. If they expect you to stay silent, speak. Take one bold, clear step that aligns with your truth, not their script. For example, if they've convinced you your ideas don't matter, share one publicly and watch how it shifts the dynamic. Each unanticipated move is a crack in their foundation, and with every crack, your power grows. You might wonder, what if I'm wrong? What if I misread the situation? That's their voice, not yours. Doubt is their tool, not your truth. You're a chosen one because you have an innate ability to see beyond the distortions, even when it's hard. Trust that. Modern science supports this too. Intuition is a real, measurable phenomenon, a rapid processing of subtle cues your conscious mind might not yet register. Combine that with your spiritual knowing, and you've got a force they can't outmaneuver. Their first error was underestimating you, failing to respect the fire within you. Now, you're turning that error into their downfall. This isn't about fighting them head-on, they're too entrenched for that. It's about outsmarting them, outthinking them, moving in ways they can't counter. Every time you choose clarity over confusion, action over paralysis, you're dismantling their control. You're not just surviving their warped reality, you're thriving beyond it. The reign of the unbeatable is ending, not because you've destroyed them, but because you've transcended them. Keep moving. Keep trusting. You're not alone in this, and you're stronger than you know. This is your path, and no one can take it from you. You're standing at the edge of something massive, aren't you? The moment their immaculate strategy begins to fall apart, the air shifts, charged, electric, alive with something you can't quite name but absolutely feel. This isn't chaos collapsing around you. It's a signal, a high-dimensional download breaking through the static they've worked so hard to maintain. You're not just witnessing their unraveling. You're receiving intel straight from the source, a cosmic feed meant to arm you for what's next. This is your preparation, your training ground for stepping into the game with unshakable self-assurance. The question is, are you ready to catch it? Let's cut through the noise. When their perfect plans crack, it's not random. Those flaws, the sudden burst of affection after days of chilly silence, the subtle insight disguised as a joke or a raised eyebrow, are openings, portals. High-vibe frequencies slip through these gaps, hitting you like a jolt of clarity amid the fog. You've felt it before. A strange feeling, a certainty about something that made your spine straighten, only for doubt to creep in moments later. That's the dance. Your soul locking onto truth, their distortion trying to pull you back. But here's the kicker, you're not crazy, and you're not imagining it. This is real, and it's yours to claim. So how do you know what's legit? How do you sift the gold of high-dimensional info from the mud of your own projections? First, get brutal with yourself. True guidance doesn't puff up your ego or feed your fears. It hits different. It's calm, steady, like a deep knowing that doesn't need to shout. Maybe it's a gut pull to walk away from a situation you've outgrown, or a flash of insight about someone's real intentions, masked as a casual thought. Self-projection, though, that's loud, needy, looping over the same old stories, wanting approval, craving control. Check your body. High-vibe info leaves you grounded, expansive. Illusions make you tense, small. Science backs this, your nervous system doesn't lie. Trust it. Now, let's talk about that moment, you know, the one. You felt certain about something, rock solid, like you could move mountains with a single thought. Then came the second guessing, the mental spiral. Asterisk, was that real? Am I just making this up? Asterisk, that's their trick, warping reality until you can't trust your own mind. They convinced you your uniqueness was a fluke, a glitch they could squash. But here's the truth. That certainty wasn't random. It was a download, a breadcrumb from your higher self, and the doubt? That's their static, not your failure. Next time it happens, don't flinch. Hold the line. Ask yourself, does this feel like truth, or does it smell like their agenda? You'll know. Here's how you sharpen this skill. Start tuning in daily, deliberately. Sit still for 5 minutes, no distractions, and listen. Not with your ears, but with your whole being. What comes up? A word? A sensation? An image? Don't overthink it. Just note it. Then test it. If it's high-dimensional, it'll prove itself. Maybe a stranger echoes that word later, or a situation unfolds exactly as you sensed. This isn't woo-woo. It's pattern recognition, a blend of quantum intuition and neuroplasticity, rewiring your brain to catch these signals. The more you practice, the louder that inner voice gets, and the less their distortion can touch you. But it's not just about receiving, it's about decoding. Those subtle hints, the ones disguised in a smirk or a throwaway line, they're coded. Take that sudden affection after silence. On the surface, it's manipulation, a hook to reel you back in. Dig deeper. What's it showing you? Maybe it's a mirror, proof you don't need their validation. Or a warning, spotting their desperation as their grip slips. Flip it. Use their move to see what you couldn't before. Every glitch in their strategy is a lesson, a download in disguise. Write it down after, date it, track it. You'll see the patterns emerge, and that's your map. This takes guts. You'll feel exposed at first, raw, like you're walking a tightrope with no net. That strange feeling, half thrill, half unease, is your soul waking up, stretching into territory they never wanted you to claim. Lean into it. When you catch a download and act on it, say, cutting a tie they thought they owned, you're not just prepping for self-assurance, you're living it. Each step strips their power, brick by brick. Neuroscience says action builds confidence faster than thought. Combine that with spiritual alignment, and you're unstoppable. Don't expect it to be clean or linear. Sometimes the info comes fast. A flood of clarity that leaves you buzzing. Other times, it's a trickle, a whisper you almost miss. That's fine. You're not here for their timeline. You're here to master yours. When you doubt, ground yourself. Feet flat, breath deep, eyes sharp. Ask, what's this telling me right now? Then move. A phone call, a boundary, a pivot doesn't matter. Just act. Their strategy's falling apart because you're not playing their game anymore, you're building your own. You've got this. The downloads aren't accidents. They're your birthright as a chosen one. They thought they could outsmart you, convince you your light was a delusion. They were wrong. Every time you catch that signal, every time you trust it over their noise, you're stepping into the self-assurance they fear. This isn't just preparation, it's activation. Their perfect plans are crumbling, and you're the one holding the hammer. Keep going. The next move is yours. You've reached the precipice, haven't you? The point where their game, the one they swore was unbeatable, starts to crumble under the weight of your presence. They thought they had you figured out, didn't they? Confronted with an adversary they couldn't outplay, outmaneuver, or outthink, they doubled down, bringing the same tricks, the same tired plan, the same smug certainty that this would be simple. They analyzed you, assessed your responses, calculated every phrase, every pause, every compliment you let slip. They thought they'd mapped your soul, pinned you to a board like a specimen they could dissect. But they failed. And now, you're not just standing in their ruins, you're forging a new era from the ashes. Let's get real about what they did. They watched you like hawks, didn't they? Every word you spoke, every silence you held, every flicker of kindness or defiance. They turned it into data, a weapon to wield against you. That compliment you gave, the one that came from a place of light, they twisted it, mirrored it back with a hollow echo to keep you guessing. That pause you took to breathe, to think, they read it as weakness, a crack they could pry open. They thought they'd cracked the code of you, that their meticulous scrutiny would trap you in their script. But here's the truth they missed. You're not a puzzle to be solved. You're a force they can't contain. And their first error? They didn't respect you. Not your depth, not your fire, not the unshakable core that refused to bend. So how did you do it? How did you face that relentless analysis and not flinch? It wasn't luck or coincidence, it was you. You felt it. That strange feeling, like a pulse beneath your skin. A quiet roar telling you this wasn't right. They wanted you to overthink, to drown in doubt until you couldn't trust your own thoughts. And sure, there were moments when you almost did, when their calculations felt like chains tightening with every step. But you didn't break. You stood there, eyes clear, heart steady, and something in you knew. Their certainty was their blindness. That strange feeling wasn't fear, it was power, waking up. You didn't flinch because you're built for this, wired to see through the noise and hold your ground. Here's how you turn that into practice. Start by owning it right now. They'll keep coming, throwing the same old playbook at you. Flattery to disarm, silence to unnerve, subtle jabs to erode. Next time it happens, don't react on autopilot. Pause just for a beat, and feel that strange sensation rise. It's your signal, your inner alarm that says, this isn't what it seems. Don't argue, don't explain, don't justify. Step back and watch. Notice how their words don't match their energy, how their compliments feel like bait. Then move in a way they didn't expect. Say no when they thought you'd cave, walk away when they assumed you'd cling, or smile when they wanted you rattled. That's you, unflinching, rewriting their game in real time. But let's talk balance, because this isn't about becoming a fortress of steel. You're human, not a machine. Their scrutiny might have left you raw, questioning your own mind, replaying every interaction like a broken record. That's their residue, not your weakness. To stay steady, you've got to release it. Try this. At the end of each day, grab a notebook. Write down one moment where they tried to pull you into their trap. Maybe a calculated phrase that stung, or a pause they weaponized. Then write what you felt, that strange electric hum, and what you did instead of folding. Burn the page if you want, or rip it up. Let it go. Science says this works. Expressive writing cuts stress by 30%, clearing your head for what's next. You're not dwelling, you're cleansing. Now let's build your path, your mission, your way. This isn't about vague ideals or cosmic fluff. It's about action, personal and precise. Step 1. Define your stake. What's the one thing you're here to shift? Not the world, not yet, but your corner of it. Maybe it's breaking a cycle in your family, or sparking truth in a space drowning in lies. Be specific. Step 2. Map your moves. If they're watching your every word, use that. Say less, do more. Pick one action this week that defies their script. A boundary they can't cross, a choice they can't predict. Step 3. Track it. Keep a log, not just of what you do, but how it feels. That strange feeling? It's your compass. When it hums, you're on track. When it fades, adjust. This is where the new era begins, not with their failure, but with your rise. They thought they could outthink you, outplan you, but they didn't see the science in your spirit. Your brain's plasticity, rewiring with every bold step. Your intuition, a quantum radar cutting through their static. You're not just surviving their tricks, you're outgrowing them. Every time you stand firm, every time you trust that strange pull over their calculated noise, you're laying bricks for something they can't touch. A reality where their certainty means nothing, where their plans dissolve, where your mission takes root and grows. You might feel the weight of this, carrying a purpose this big isn't light. There'll be days when their old tactics sting, when you wonder if you're enough. That's not failure, it's fuel. Take a breath, feel your feet hit the ground, and ask, what's my next move? Not theirs, yours. Maybe it's resting when they expect you to push, or pushing when they think you'll retreat. Balance isn't perfection. It's knowing when to fight and when to recharge. You've got the tools, your unshakable core, your strange feeling, your ability to see what they can't. Use them. This is your mission realized, not a dream, not a theory, but a living, breathing act of creation. They brought their same tricks, their same certainty, and watched it fail because you're not who they thought you were. You're the chosen one who didn't flinch, who turned their analysis into dust, who built a new era on the bones of their arrogance. Your path is yours to carve, specific, bold, unbreakable. Start today. Move now. The world's been waiting for you, and it's time they see what you're capable of. In the end, it's not their crumbling illusions or faltering strategies that define you. It's the quiet, unyielding fire within, the one they never saw coming and can never extinguish. As a chosen one, your mission isn't just to outmaneuver their game. It's to transcend it entirely, to stand as a beacon of truth in a world they've tangled in shadows. Every step you take, every move they didn't predict, carves a legacy not of defiance but of destiny, a testament to an identity forged in clarity and purpose, unshakable and eternal, ready to reshape the very fabric of what they thought they controlled.